Here with Ursinus College coach Joe Jamison. Coach, you got the job over the summer.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit of what's been like, hitting the ground running, and I guess the end of July or middle
End
of
of
July?
July 29th was day one. Yeah, I accepted the position on July 22nd, I believe it was, and that's when they announced the job. I was still teaching summer school in New Jersey,
At Cranberry?
in Cranberry. Yep, yeah, at the Cranberry School, great little school district right outside of Princeton, and so I finished that up that week, and came here that Monday and just hit the ground running. So a lot of work to get done. We had to fill out the schedule, and of course we host 3 events here: the Fall Brawl, the North South Duels, and the Will Label Invitational Tournament. So I had to make sure that we had all the teams that need, that we need in order to run a good event. And going through the budget, because since we added some events to our schedule, we needed to make sure that everything was going to fall in line. And now we're pretty settled now that the kids are here on campus. Things are kind of falling in line, and we're rolling now.
Now, when you take a job like this, first of all, very desirable job. I know at least 5 guys personally that applied. You come in with a 100-day plan. Are you assessing and then making a plan? How do you approach this mentally?
Yeah, so like my first plan, of course, was like, all right, let me take a look at the schedule.
Right.
That was something I did not know. Let me take a look at the budget and see where we can make things work. And of course, then let's take a look at the roster. Let's see who I have coming back. And then what I really wanted to do was get a sense from everybody to see how last season went. Of course, it was a rough go of it with the passing of Coach Racich.
Yeah.
And then they had, and then of course, all the assistants did a great job of kind of filling the gaps where they could. But of course, the team, they finished second to last at the conference tournament.
Yeah.
So they had a rough go of it. It was just a rough season all around. So I want to get a sense of where everybody is, what their goals are for the year. So I met with the team that Friday of their first week on campus, and gave them what I felt like that we're capable that we are capable of doing. I gave them new coaching philosophies.
Yeah.
What we want to see happen with the program. They got their preseason training program. Of course, it's Division III. So, I can't be present for any of those workouts, and they're not required to do them. But if they want to be on podiums, here's what you need to do it. Here's the formula, right? And then, so then we're holding individual meetings with everybody this week to kind of get everybody's goals, see where they're coming from, and then we'll move forward from there.
Can you share some of your coaching philosophies? So let me give background for people who don't know. You've been, a coach at Princeton, NJRTC, and then Cranberry School was high school?
Middle school.
Middle school.
Yeah.
So you got a well-rounded background. So what are some of the philosophies you're bringing here to the Division III school?
And I actually coached the K-2 Tiger Cubs program
Okay.
at Princeton Wrestling Club.
So you've got everything going on.
Oh, I got everything going on. One of the guys calls me the child whisperer.
That's it.
Yeah, because my son is in first grade, so I always help out with that too. So as far as like wrestling philosophies goes, I just want to keep things simple, right? So as you know, our Ursinus has a great reputation as a school. They also have a pretty storied program. And with the assistants, we kind of right away wanted to brand the program initially, just to kind of give a sense of what we're about. And we came up with UC Built.
Okay.
Meaning, you come here to school, you will be prepared for what lies ahead after school, but at the same time, you will be prepared to take it to the mat, right? Some basic wrestling philosophies, that I want to instill in the guys is number one, no matter what you're doing, focus on scoring the next point. No matter what position you're in, go to wrestle to score. You can take it down, so what? Get your escape, get back to your feet, look to score points. Number 2 is win the position, right? There's a lot of times in a match where you're in a position where you might not necessarily need to score right there, but you need to win that position, right? Like you need to get your head position correct. You might need to get a mat return. You might need to get off your belly and get to your base. Like those are some crucial positions that you got to win that happen in every single match, and you got to focus on those and make sure you're doing the right things there. A couple others are that we just talked about. Be exciting, right? No one's coming to watch paint dry.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like people are coming and they want to see people put it on the line. And they want to see people wrestle. People come to matches to be entertained. And let's entertain people, Toughness is a choice.
Yeah.
Right? There's going to come a point in a match where you could, like you just got to toughen up and just grit it out. And on the same lines with that is another philosophy is give your opponent a reason to quit.
Right.
There's going to come a time where everyone has a choice, right? Whether they're going to keep wrestling or they're going to quit. And quitting's the easiest thing to do. And if you can, make that happen, make your opponent quit, well then that's a very, very winnable situation. And you just want guys focused on the process of what's happening. At the end of the day, when we talked to the team, I was like, listen, we're not like Iowa. I can't recruit,
right?
10 of the same people to go out there and be Iowa style. So when we talk about like what our sign of style is going to be, I want, whether we win the match or we lose the match, I want our opponent walking off the mat saying, I never want to do that again. That's what I want.
Yeah, love that.
We're calling it 7 minutes of fury.
Okay, so all right,
That's
I like
what we
it.
want.
Yeah, it's always good when you can make your opponent question their goals.
Yeah.
Right, and then what is it that you're going to instill in these guys to help drive that? So I know I don't want to say handicapped, but you're not allowed to have the same amount of contact.
Right.
Now, does that apply to all the coaches?
Yes. So it also depends what season you're in.
Okay.
So since we're a 2-semester sport, I can have contact with the guys. I just can't do anything athletic related. So I can't be in the weight room with them for team lifts. I can't be in the wrestling room with them. I can't watch film with them.
Okay.
Those kinds of things. If you're a 1-semester sport, like right now, so like for example, lacrosse is a spring semester sport. They're allowed to have 16 off-season practices that are mandatory.
Okay.
It's called their non-traditional season.
Right.
Since we run from October 10th through like St. Patrick's Day, we don't have that because we're basically almost the entire year as it is, right?
Right.
So, and we talked about, it might take a little bit of time to build that culture where guys are taking accountability for what they're doing. So far, everyone's excited right now.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of guys that are walking right by my office and going in the wrestling room, and they always stop in to say hello, or like they just come back with like, after their weightlifting workout or they're getting their road work in, and they come and they go, man, coach, that was hard today. And they'll sit down and we'll chat it up for a little bit. And so it'll be pretty evident once we get started who prepared and who didn't.
Right.
And the guys that want to go out and win, they'll do what's necessary.
Now you're surrounded by one of the highest densities of wrestling in the country. I know that the youth league here, Southeastern Pennsylvania, is the biggest youth league in the country.
Right.
I think there's 4,000 or 5,000 kids in there. Tons of high school kids. Where does the average wrestling student come from? Is it local, or are they coming from across the country?
Typically, most of them are from PA and Jersey.
Okay.
For the most part, we have a couple kids from Maryland. We got 1 or 2 from Delaware and New York. It's a pretty regional school.
Yeah.
But mostly are PA and Jersey. On that point, however, though, there's not that many, in Southeastern PA. There's not that many wrestling teams.
Yeah.
Especially on the D3 level, it's only Austin Del Valle, and that's it.
Yeah.
And right from the get-go, I said if we can keep Southeastern PA kids in PA, we're going to do just fine.
Yeah.
We will win. It's just a matter of a lot of, I think culturally in Southeastern PA, a lot of kids from an early age, it's ingrained in them that they want to go D1.
Yeah.
And which is great. It's a great goal to have. It's a great aspiration to have. But a lot of times, some of those kids, like, they're talented enough to go D1, and they can probably hack it. But at the same time, some of them might get to a school like Franklin Marshall. They might get to a school like Bucknell, where they might not break the lineup.
Yeah.
Like they're D1 caliber and they're talented enough, but they just might not break the lineup.
Yeah. I'll just say I've coached a long time, and the biggest issue is that a lot of those kids aren't mentally ready for that change, and D3 would be a great option instead of quitting after your sophomore year at whatever school will name
So if I can identify, and I mentioned those 2 schools because it's not like they have a history of kids not making it. I mentioned them because we're on the same academic profile.
Right.
Oh.
Is that motion sensor?
Motion sensor, yeah.
Dude.
Hold on. There we go. Sorry about that.
No problem. That's a first.
Yeah, they're trying to keep me in the dark around here.
Right.
Like I said, I mentioned that because we're in the same academic profile as schools like that. So if we can keep those kids here, as opposed to going up to a place like Bucknell, Franklin, and Marshall, and then deciding it's not for them, I think we'll be in the mix not only in our region but nationally.
Absolutely. Your conference is pretty tough.
Yeah.
You know, Stevens has really started putting together a program.
Stevens actually left the conference.
They did.
They did.
Good for
Stevens.
you.
Stevens went to the MAC.
Did they really?
Yeah. So this will be their first year not in our conference.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes the conference
Opens it up a little bit.
a little bit, right?
Yeah.
We'll speak a little bit about how are you going to go about, like, I don't know, branding locally? Are you reaching out to high school coaches? Are you having camps? What are you doing?
Yeah, so I do have kind of like a 2-year plan in that regard. I have reached out to a few coaches locally, and I want Ursinus to be like the epicenter of Southeastern PA wrestling, especially in this area.
Yeah.
Because there isn't much. There's no camps around here. There's not really very many clubs that are within 20 minutes of here. So I want to make sure that we become that epicenter. First thing is the doc is we will be running a summer camp. There's literally no wrestling camps in this area.
Okay.
So I want to make sure that we get that rolling immediately.
Yeah.
And get that going for this summer. So that's my number one goal. As time goes on, I do want to make sure that we get a club started as well for off season, especially for like the high school athletes, so they're not driving 45 minutes away just to get some mat time. So I want to make sure that happens as well.
Gotcha. Let's talk a little bit about you.
Okay.
You are a Pennsylvania guy originally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You've spent a lot of time in Jersey.
Right.
There's a little bit of a wrestling rivalry. I'm a peacemaker. I love covering New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Is there a difference between the two states?
I'd say I have to be careful here.
Don't be. No one's gonna watch us. I promise.
Right. I will say this: there's a depth difference. When you take the number one guys in PA versus the number one guys in Jersey, it is going to be mayhem.
Yeah.
I think they're neck and neck, and you just don't. They're all toss ups.
Yeah.
I think when you start looking at those blood round guys from PA versus the blood round guys in Jersey, is where Pennsylvania's going to start to have the edge a little bit.
Right.
But man, like I said, if we just recruit regionally, taking guys from PA and Jersey, if we can keep them here, we're going to be good. And on that note, it's funny now that I'm here because when I came home from the Princeton-Rutgers dual meet last year up at the rack, I was like, man, I might move to New Jersey because that was the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Crazy with the rack. They've done that rack.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was what an atmosphere, man. And and it's funny. Jersey people love Jersey wrestling, and PA guys love PA wrestling.
Yeah. Which one are you?
I'm a PA guy.
Okay.
I've never lived anywhere else but in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So,
just driving across the Delaware.
Yeah, I've spent my entire working career up until now in New Jersey.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Tell me a little bit about things you picked up. Now, I don't want this. If anything you say about Chris Ayers, Chris, please don't let it go to your head. It's already big enough. I'm kidding. But tell me a little bit about what you've picked up along the way from different coaches.
Well, Chris, I was incredibly fortunate to work with Chris. Chris is both a mentor and he's a very good friend of mine. He's one of my best friends. And we spent a lot of time together. We had a lot of L's in those first couple of years. Yeah. And just going through that process with him to see someone to have that vision that we are going to be a top 10 program. Yeah. Like we are going to be in the mix for a national trophy. And when he's talking about those things where we were literally ranked dead last in Division I and not winning a match for 2 years, it was funny. When I first took this job, I was going through some of our old box scores. And man, we were getting smoked by teams that don't even exist anymore, you know. Right. And man, and just to see someone have like that perseverance and that foresight that like, no, this is going to happen. Yeah. It's just a matter of when it's going to happen. And really, you know, I tell people I didn't really learn how to wrestle until I was about 27. Yeah. You know, and a lot of that is working with Chris. You know, and he's just been like I could not be more thankful for that experience to work with him.
How about at NJRTC? Yeah. Tell me a little bit what you picked up there and what you contributed, and because they're on fire now.
They are on fire. Reese is the man. You know, so when we first started that, so that was an idea that we came up with. So it was Chris obviously, and then and me, and then Dubuque and Ayers. I'm sorry, Dubuque and Gray came on board, and we had this vision. It's like, hey guys, listen, like we're finally at a place. So Chris spent a lot of years building the foundation of the Princeton program. Yeah. It's like, I can go out and try and recruit, get all these guys, but the foundation isn't set here yet. Yeah. Like when he started, there was only 2 full-time coaches and 1 volunteer coach. Right. And then so he wanted those 4 full-time coaches. Yeah. You know, And so I guess now it's been about 5 or 6 years ago where we ran this like gala event. It was just all the local guys were involved in the Princeton Wrestling Club, where Chris pitched his idea for Tokyo 2020. Like, we want guys to be able, we want to be able to financially send guys to Tokyo 2020. And people thought he was nuts. People thought he was nuts, and then here we are. We got 2 guys on the world team.
Right.
For NJRTC.
Yeah.
And then I think, and we were starting to make a little bit of headway with the RTC program, and then when the opportunity came to partner with Rutgers is when it really took off, because they were looking to get things done also, and it just made sense for us.
Yeah. It
just really, really made sense for us to partner with them, and they were willing partners, and we knew that if we worked together, that we could really, really make some noise. In the early days, we would all take turns running practices and do all that, but it was pretty evident, especially once we joined with Rutgers, that we need someone to run this ship full time. Like, that was an evident thing, that there's no way that we're going to be able to effectively run the college program and effectively run an RTC program that was going to be at the highest level.
Yeah.
And because Chris, what he really wanted was, and Goody to that point, what they really wanted was, a lot of RTC's programs are accessories to the college program.
Yeah.
Where they wanted to flip that on its head.
Yeah.
And be like, hey, if you're coming here for RTC, you're not here to be a workout partner for college guys. You are here to make a world team. You are here to win world medals and Olympic medals. Our college guys are accessories to you.
Yeah.
And that really is just having that is just gonna elevate both programs. And the final, the final key in that process was Reese. And the minute he stepped in that room, everything changed. Everything changed. He is just, I've never seen someone that was so technically sound.
Yeah.
You hear about things, and and you talk about technique, and then you see him talk about it, you see him do it, and then you feel it.
Right.
And then you're like, oh man, wow. That's what you always talk about, using your hips and arching your back when somebody sprawls on you and this and that. Like, I've wrestled with Reese and I've gotten on his legs, and then all of a sudden, I've been in this sport for 25, go like this, and I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he uses his hips so well. So he's at another level when it comes to like his technique. It's incredible.
Even in college when he was wrestling, I think he lost to Gomez in the finals.
Yeah.
Senior year. But I mean, he was a technician of a tech. I mean, I know his dad was obviously world-class wrestler. But it's been really incredible to watch the NJRTC take off.
And just, seeing him, like, when of course, Bryce Meredith just came on board. And so then when you see Reese talking to someone that is as world-class as Bryce Meredith about sprawling and using your hips, it's just mind-blowing to me. Yeah. So it's incredible.
So you've been around a lot of great guys. Yeah. It's, did you tell yourself, I don't want to say it's Division III is a little less intense, we'll say. Yeah. Any adjustments you're going to make?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to, right? I mean, but at the same, I think I have the advantage in that respect is that I was a D3 wrestler, right? So I wrestled at King's College, so I know what that's like to be a D3 guy and come into a room of that respect. But at the same time, we were a very successful Division III program. Yeah. So I know what that looks like if those guys are putting in the extra time to make sure. And so my number one goal is kind of bring that D1 culture to a D3 program, but I need to have the right leaders in place that are going to make that happen.
Gotcha. Let's talk a little bit about your wrestling. So you were a baseball player early.
Yeah.
Made the transition. Can you tell people what that was like? I mean, were you, I think were you getting a scholarship for baseball, or was it being recruited to play?
No. So I grew up a big baseball player. Yeah. So I grew up in Northeast Philadelphia, and at the time there was no wrestling anywhere. Right. Where I grew up locally in my neighborhood. I didn't even know what it was. I literally had no idea what it even was.
It was on Saturday with Haystack Calhoun or whoever was in there.
Yeah. Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan,
the Macho Man. Yeah. So that was basically my idea of what wrestling actually was. And we moved to Bucks County when I was in 7th grade. And of course we moved into the Counts Rock School District, which has a phenomenal program. Now they have two high schools, North and South. At the time it was just the one. And our middle schools then were 7 and 9. So I was still a basketball player. My brothers were really good basketball players. They're 5'11". I am not. I'm 5'5", so they kind of had a better build there. So my dad was kind of like, hey, why don't you try this out? But and I had a couple kids that I made friends with that were really big into wrestling, but wrestling since they were kindergarten. And they're like, yeah, come try it out. And I had one practice, and I was like, man, this is awesome. Like, this is great. I really like this. This is something I could be good at. You know, one thing I was always pretty good at was giving 100% and giving and showing a lot of heart.
Yeah.
You know, and I figured out pretty quickly in this sport that if you do that, you can make some things happen. And I was fortunate enough to have some great coaching. So Tom Vivacco is now the head coach of Couch Rock North. Was my first coach. Okay. I was pretty fortunate
Good
in
stuff.
that regard. Yeah, I was pretty fortunate in that regard. So when I was so I went 7 to 9, played baseball. Like I said, my family was a big baseball family, and I transferred to Archbishop Wood going in my sophomore year. I was a Catholic school city kid. I was more comfortable in a Catholic school, so made the move over there. My dad got an assistant coaching job there at Archbishop Wood for baseball, and when I transferred to Wood, I had another great experience with Vic Stanley. He's a PIAA Hall of Fame coach. He took a couple years off from Council Rock and coaching, came back, got the job at Archbishop Wood, and was very fortunate for his 3 years at Wood were my 3 years at Wood. And after my sophomore year, had a pretty good season. My dad was funny talking to my dad. He was like, I was just hoping you'd make varsity, to be honest. And you know, I had about 20 wins, which is pretty good. Baseball season's rolling around. Get a knock on the door, and there's Vic. Said, I had to talk to you and your dad. You know, and we basically had a conversation like, listen, we know you guys are really into baseball, and but you could have, you know, I could have a future in this sport.
Yeah.
If I want to, but I have to catch up. You know, and I got to start wrestling all year round. The only freestyle club in the area at the time was Maverick, which was another fortunate experience. Pete Schaefer, who at the time was the head coach of Germantown Academy.
Yep.
So he ran that club, and then ultimately we decided that that's what we were going to do. The first year or two was tough, not playing ball, you know, and I think it was probably tougher on my dad than on me. But at the same time, you know, he never said a word. He was like, whatever you want to do is what we'll do. You know, and looking back on it now, and of course my father has passed on a couple of years ago, and so some of those best times I had with my dad are those early Saturday morning drives out to, you know, the Central PA to wrestle in a freestyle tournament.
Right.
You know, and those drives home, you know. He didn't know anything about wrestling, really. He was just like my cheerleader in the corner, just encouraging me and cheering me on and let me figure out as I go. You know, and so...
Can I just stop you right there? Because at the youth level, that can be one of the worst experiences. Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about what your dad did to make those car rides fun?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we just had conversations about anything. On the way there, you know, we would like sit down in the car, we'd get going. He would always have like his coffee mug in hand. He never had a travel mug. I don't know why. But he always had like just a regular coffee mug that was like dangerous and driving.
Right. I love that.
But that's just what he did. And we would sit down. He would ask me how my weight was. I'd say it was good. And then that was the last time that we would talk about wrestling until we got there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then, and I think a lot of it was because that he didn't know a lot about the sport. Yeah. He was learning as he was going, and so a lot of the conversations we had was he was trying to pick up stuff from me. Okay. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and I think it kind of put me in a position to teach him a little bit. About the sport, and of course, you know, being a kid, I thought I was like the know-it-all at the time. You know. You know. Meanwhile, I've only had like 4 or 5 years under my belt. Right. But you know, so we just spent a lot of time talking about other things, talking about baseball a lot still. Yeah. You know, just you know, just talking about what my goals were. You know, I already knew that I wanted to get into teaching, so we talked about that a lot. Talked about, you know, what I want to do for college a lot. Just had normal conversations. Drive home, we're a little bit different. We would talk about the matches and. Yeah. You know, what did he think my thoughts were, or what I could have done better, you know, what I thought I did well, what do you think we can do next steps to improve on them? Yeah. You know, so he spent a lot of time more just encouraging me, more than trying to coach me. And, you know, and I was fortunate enough, too, is that we had a good relationship, and the fact that he coached me in baseball from day one since I was in kindergarten. Gotcha. You know what I mean? I had 2 brothers, and he coached my brothers in baseball, too. But as we got older, you know, they all played. Like, we all played baseball. Yeah. But as we got older, like, he could only coach one of us. Right. And it just so happened that he kind of fell into my age bracket. Okay. With that. I see. And so, you know, people talk about how hard it is to coach your kids. Yeah. And I'm finding that out a little bit when I'm coaching my own son, and my daughter actually in baseball. But I had a really good role model in that respect, where my dad he was never too hard on me, but at the same time he didn't let a lot of things go either.
Gotcha.
Like he treated me just like I was anybody else on the team, and
Right.
I learned a lot from that. And so I had a pretty good role model in that respect when it comes to, coaching my own kids.
Gotcha. Going through high school, what was the mental thought you had as a senior in high school about wrestling? Because you weren't done wrestling.
Yeah.
But what were you thinking about it?
I remember thinking, like, I remember, I'll never forget this conversation I had with my coach. Because we, since I went to a Catholic school, if Council Rock was closed, I didn't have to go to school, because there was no buses, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I remember it snowed one day, and buses were, so Council Rock was closed, so we had no bus transportation. We had a match that night. So I remember thinking to myself, oh, I gotta get to school.
Yeah.
So my dad was working at the refinery in South Philly, so he couldn't come get me. My mom was already at work, so I remember calling, so Coach Stanley at the time, he taught in Council Rock. So he was not in school, obviously. I remember calling him up, say, hey, Coach, here we go again.
There we go.
I know. Let's turn that back on. There we go. All right. So I said, hey, Coach, so I don't have a bus to school and this and that. And he's like, I'll be at your house 20 minutes. You know what I mean? Like you need to get to school.
Yeah.
And I was a junior. And so this was like February. Postseason was coming. I was having a pretty good junior year. And I remember calling my dad and saying, hey, Coach Stanley's going to come get me. And I remember him saying, good, tell your brother to get dressed. And my brother just being livid because he had to go to school.
Ruining it for me.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I remember the car conversation on the way over with him was, he was like, hey, listen, you've put in a lot of time. Like I remember, I came to your house, we had this conversation, and you've put in a lot of time, and it's starting to pay off. And I remember saying, going into your senior year, if you continue along this path, I don't see many kids beating you.
Yeah.
And that conversation I'll never forget, because that stuck with me a lot. And at the end of my junior year, I didn't get what I wanted. I did okay national, by the time we were the national preps. So I did okay. I won a couple matches out there, but ultimately didn't place. And I remember going in my senior year, I was like, man, I need to place at this tournament.
Yeah.
Not even just so I get looked at by colleges than that, I need to place at this tournament.
Yeah.
For
you.
For me.
Yeah.
And for him, and for my, my parents who put in a lot of time. They spent a lot of weekends driving me around.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to get this done. And so that was my mindset. Like, this had to happen. And I remember I had a really good year. I went into the Philly Catholic Championships. I don't remember if I was number 1 or number 2 seed, but I remember that day. I remember there was another kid from LaSalle College High School, Tim McNichol. Kid was really good, man, and ended up playing football in college, but he was really, really good. And I remember we never wrestled each other. We're different weights for dual meets or whatever. I was coming down to 130, and I'll never forget a couple, and we were hosting the tournament that year.
Okay.
And 4 or 5 people came up to me that day, total strangers.
Yeah.
Came up to me and said, I came here today to see you 2 wrestle.
Oh.
Right? And being like, all right. And I remember I had 2 tech falls going into the finals. He pinned his way through. And I remember he had a real nice dump. I was prepared for it. He couldn't hit it. And I remember got a single leg, brought it back to the middle, and went to cut in front to go double. And he lat dropped me in center of the mat. Boom.
Boom.
And I remember sitting up, and I was like, I cannot believe that just happened. And just being like devastated about it. You know, I never won a city title, being devastated about it. And I was like, and of course I moped that night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at the end of it, that wasn't the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Right? And so that next day I had to pick myself back up. I remember having a conversation with my dad and being like, all right, it happened. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's not
short-term memory.
Yeah.
Get back to
get back to work here, because you got this tournament coming up.
Yeah.
And so that kind of that was the goal. So, and that just helped me. I've never done that since. I never tried to go and do that since. I learned a lot from that, and it's not the end of the world. Let's move forward here. So, the ultimate goal was to place the preps, and I was glad that I was able to get it done. Like my dad, until the day he passed away, still talked about that tournament.
The prep tournament?
The prep tournament.
Yeah.
The prep tournament. Yeah, because I remember because you didn't know, back then there was no real seeding.
Yeah.
There was no real qualification. You just went, and they
some of the regions held their regionals after the prep tournament until just a few years ago.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
Crazy, man, right? So they would separate a couple of kids, right? And I remember one of our assistant coaches telling my dad the night before, brackets come out in the morning. I don't know a lot of the kids, but 2 of the kids I know you need to look out for. One is kid from Bullis Academy, and the other one, of course, was Sean Gray from Blair.
Yeah.
Okay. Brackets come out. Kid from Bullis Academy, first round. Winner gets Gray.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And of course, I didn't know this,
Yeah.
you know, but and I remember, like, my dad used to tell me afterwards, like, you've got to be freaking kidding me.
Yeah.
So I ended up winning the first one, 3-1, on 2 stalling calls.
Okay.
I couldn't get to the kid's legs,
Yeah.
but I just kept firing away,
Yeah.
man. So I ended up winning 3-1 on a bunch of stalling calls. I got both got an escape, and I got a bunch of stall calls. So I won 3-1. Then, of course, the Gray match happened. You know.
Does he ever remind you of that or not?
He does.
Okay.
He does. It's okay.
In
It's
public?
all right. Sometimes.
Sometimes. Okay.
Sometimes, you know. Gray does great things, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
You know, there's a little folklore around that match, too. It's like he pinned everybody in that tournament but me.
Okay.
I was not letting, and Buxton actually ran on the mat and told the ref to stop the match one time. So he thought he ripped my arm off.
Oh, no kidding.
Because I was like, I'm not going over.
I'm not going to do it.
Yeah,
Now
I
you're-
mean, he won by a pretty significant gap.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but then on the way back, I still had to beat 2 or 3 guys that placed
Right.
in previous years. And the one match, I was actually losing by, I ended up getting put on my back early. I was down 6 and had to come clawing back.
Are you still young enough to remember the emotions of the loss and coming back?
Well, you know, it's funny in a sense. I was kind of, you know, it was father leader back then.
Yeah.
So if you lost, it better be to somebody that was good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was almost like relieved. I don't want to say it was relieved, but at the same point, it's like, all right, I lost to Gray. I'm gonna be fine. I'm getting in the wrestlebacks.
Yeah.
Because no one's gonna beat him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I was like, okay, now, but because of where I lost in the second round, I knew I was gonna have a couple matches here.
Right. Yeah. The
To
Ironman's
try-
journey, right? Like.
You know, to try and make that up. And I remember after I lost that first match, after I won that first round match, we both knew that was it.
Yeah.
If we lost this match, we were done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that happened, and then I remember being down early. This kid from the Hill School, actually, I don't remember his name, but he was from the Hill School. I beat him during the year, and now I was down by 6 at the end of the first period. I remember looking in the corner, and my coach is going, "You're fine. Just wrestle.
Right.
You're going to be fine. Just score points."
Gotcha.
And then I remember I put him on his back, and then the second, didn't get the fall. Looking at the score, I'm still losing. I'm like, all right, but we can make this happen. So I won that one, and then I won the blood round match and the closing seconds. You know, so I remember just losing it, just being like, I cannot believe I just made it. But to that point, I got satisfied.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
I won that match.
Yeah.
And I remember a buddy of mine, Mike Weinberg, who actually wrestled here at Ursinus.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, he was sitting in the corner.
Okay.
He was my wrestling partner. Like
Yep.
we were super tight. I remember him just jumping up and down, going crazy. You know what I mean? Because I made it happen. But then at the same note, I remember after the tournament, thinking, man, like I could have taken 3rd at this darn thing.
Yeah.
You know, I ended up taking 7th. I lost to a kid who ended up, I believe, taking 5th. I think.
Okay.
And I was winning that match. Ended up losing.
Oh,
I think
no
it's because I
kidding.
was satisfied.
Yeah.
You know, I made it to day 2.
Yeah.
And I was happy enough with that. And I remember walking away from that tournament. I won the 7th place match and walked away from that tournament like I could have taken 3rd of this thing.
Right.
And just being a little bothered about that.
Yeah.
But, you know.
You went on to wrestle in college, though.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
What are your biggest takeaways from there? Wilkes, right?
Kings.
Kings, I'm
I
sorry.
went to Kings, which is right up the street from Wilkes. It's
Yep,
a Wilkes Bay,
yep,
right?
yep.
So I went to Kings. I didn't get a lot done that I was hoping to get done.
Yeah.
I had a lot of injuries. So I really didn't. I didn't even put together 2 full seasons, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Struggled with weight early on. It was day before weigh-ins at first, so I wrestled 126. That was hard.
Yeah.
You know, I finished my senior year at high school. I didn't cut a ton of weight, but with the 2-pound allowance, it was 132. I was wrestling 126.
Right.
You know, so that was really, really tough. Won my first college tournament. I was pretty excited about that. I was really happy about that. But then I was yo-yoing
Yeah.
with the weight. You
Right.
know, and I really struggled with it. To be honest, I just didn't know what to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't know how to handle it.
Yep.
And then the weights changed. I believe January that year is when they changed the weights, like mid-season.
Yeah.
And I was a 33-pounder all of a sudden. I was like, oh man! I remember when we found out, and I was like, man, I'm not even 10 pounds over.
Right.
This is great.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, and I finally kind of found my groove a little bit. And then the week of our qualifier, I popped a couple of discs in my neck.
Okay.
So I missed that, missed most of my sophomore year. And even like my freshman year, I had a high ankle sprain, missed a couple of weeks. Like it just didn't.
Yeah.
Came back my junior year. I wanted to go 33 again. My coach was like, nope, you're going 41. Like, you had too many injury problems. Like, I just want you to focus on being healthy and wrestling. Came out of the gate pretty strong. I think it was a little too small for the weight. My frame's not that big. I think if there was a 137-pound weight class, I would have been kind of perfect for that.
Right.
Ended up getting hurt again, herniated another disc. You know, it just didn't seem like it. And again, it was right before qualifiers.
Yeah.
So I never even got a chance to wrestle in a qualifier to go to nationals. Experience was great, you know.
Yeah.
But in that note, my senior year, team still elected me to be a captain. I was still running the team a lot. And Ned McGinley, who actually I talked on the phone to on the way here, gave me a call.
Yeah.
You know, I had to talk to him for about 20 minutes on the way here.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. And he kind of put me in a role of being like a student assistant coach.
Oh, okay.
You know, and I think I kind of found my niche there a little bit. You know, where it was like, this is something I could do. Like, I could be good at this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And of course, like, you know, we were pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, so we had some freshmen on the team that ended up, you know, making the NCAA finals. Like, they were freaking good, man. And they were much better than I was. But a lot of those kids, I can kind of help through the process of, like, just helping them with, you know, school and picking classes and doing all those kind of things that I was capable of doing. You kind of put me in that role a little bit. And
Gotcha.
I think that's part of the reason why I'm here today.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
you know, do you still feel that? Do you feel like it drives you at all, or not?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't accomplish anything I wanted to accomplish.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, you know, I wanted to be on that podium as a college athlete, and it didn't happen. You know.
Yeah.
And I think maybe if I did, or if I won a national title, I'm not sure I'd be here.
Right.
You know.
Right. Stay hungry.
Yeah.
Stay hungry, kids. This is a little off topic. Did your family change the spelling of your name when you came originally to America?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So I've actually done a little. I can't believe you just asked me that. I've actually done, like, when I was in college in the summertime, I actually did a little bit of like genealogy work. And it looks like it may have been.
Was it originally Jamison?
It looks like so. Jamison is originally Scottish by origin.
Okay.
My family immigrated to Ireland from Scotland. It looks like the original spelling of the name is Ieson,
Oh.
as in like son of Jamie.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, of course, it was Gaelic at first.
Yeah.
Translated to English. And then from there, it looks so. Jamison itself with just an I is a Northern Irish name.
Okay.
You know, which is a lot of those people there have Scottish origins.
Right.
You know, and then Jamison with an E.
Yep.
Seems to be Irish.
Irish.
Yeah.
So there's no way we're gonna get them to sponsor True Wrestling or sign us.
You know, if they just figure out how to spell their name properly,
Right, get it right.
Yeah. Then maybe
Gotcha.
we'll get it right. Yeah.
Interesting. So you were just doing this genealogy?
No, I did it years ago.
Okay.
Years ago, but I did. But you know, I've kept up in touch with it over the
Yeah.
couple of years. I'm on Ancestry.com. I get little flags, this and that. I did the DNA thing, and
Gotcha.
you know, and I came out. I said, "Man, if this comes out that I'm not Irish, I am. My whole life's been a lie."
So you're mostly Scottish though?
Well, it's the way they group it. It's Irish/Scottish.
Scottish, all
You know
right,
what I mean? Because
right.
a lot of it's the same gene pool.
Yeah.
So I came out-
Circulating
yeah.
back and forth
Yeah.
between being dominated
But I
by
was
Britain.
a vast majority of my genealogy is from there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to tell people who are thinking about coming here to school, or people in the area thinking about coming to watch practice or a match?
Yeah, man. It's like when we came up with that phrase, UC built. Like, if you want to be like, we just, we have it's a pretty selective school, and every year the U.S. News rankings comes out, and we just keep moving up and up
Hey, you
the
guys
ladder.
moved up. I saw this year again.
Yeah, we just keep moving up the ladder every single year. Got named one of the most innovative schools in the country, and I think basically, what it comes down to this school is about the individual. And this school really focuses on the individual and what, one of the 4 core questions they have is like, for this school is, what matters to you and what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And that's your entire freshman year surfaces around that final question. What are you going to do? There we go again. Crucial moment, right? What am I going to do about these
Building
lights?
to a crescendo. Right.
And that's part of when we came up with that phrase, UC built.
Yeah.
It's like, when you come here, you will be prepared for life, and we will prepare you to compete.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing. If you want to come to a place where you can be really successful in life and be successful on the rest of the mat, we're that place.
Gotcha. Hey, thanks for the time.
Thanks, Mike. I
Good
appreciate
luck
it,
this
man.
season,
Thank
and
you.
we'll be following.
Beautiful. Thanks, buddy.